Crochet the Bead stitch. For this tutorial I'm using Paint Box Simply Erin and a J6mm crochet hook, but you can use any weight yarn with the appropriate hook size for this stitch. So to get started, I'm going to get my yarn on my hook. And for this stitch, you need to start with a chain of any even number. So for the purposes of this swatch, I'm going to chain a number of 12. Okay. And for row 1, you are going to single crochet across. So I'm going to start in the second chain from my hook. So I like to count the little bumps on the back of my chain. 1, 2, I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to single crochet in each chain across. So I'm going to insert my hook into this second chain from my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both those loops on my hook for my first single crochet. I'm going to repeat that all the way across. Here is row 1. For row 1, I have 11 single crochet. So you could definitely use foundation single crochet if you wanted to, instead of a chain and then single crocheting in your chain. So row 1 needs to be an odd number of single crochet. So now for row 2, we're going to start doing the bead stitch. I'm going to chain 3. And for this stitch, this chain 3 does count as a double crochet. I'm going to chain 3 and turn. And now I'm going to do a bead stitch in the next stitch. So this first stitch, I have my chain 3 as a double crochet, that counts. So I'm going to start in this next single crochet. I'm going to double crochet right here. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into my stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 for a double crochet. Now I'm going to do a bead stitch, and a bead stitch is when I'm going to do a puff stitch around this double crochet, around the post of this double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook on this side of my double crochet through the back, and yarn over and pull up a loop. So I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to do that again. Yarn over. I'm going to put my hook behind the post of the stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. I'm going to do that one more time. Yarn over. Insert my hook behind the post of my double crochet. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So you should have 7 loops on your hook. Let's see, there's 7 loops from my puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on my hook. Now I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull through all 7. I do like to kind of pull my hook up a bit to stretch out those stitches to make sure my hook doesn't get caught in anything. Go nice and slow. And there's your first bead stitch. Now I'm going to skip 1 stitch and double crochet in the next. And I'm going to do another bead stitch. I'm going to do that same stitch again. I'm going to do a puff stitch around the post of this double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook behind the post of this double crochet, yarn over and pull up a loop. And you want those loops to be kind of the height of a double crochet. You want to pull them up. You don't want them tight. You want them kind of loose as if you were doing a double crochet. I'm going to yarn over. That's my second time. I'm going to do it once more. Yarn over, put my hook behind this post, and yarn over and pull up a loop. So I have 7 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 7 of those loops. And there's my second bead stitch. So I'm going to skip 1 stitch and double crochet in the next. And now I'm going to do my puff stitch around the post of this double crochet. Yarn over, insert my hook behind that post, yarn over and pull up a loop. And I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. So for a total of doing that 3 times around the post of the double crochet for your puff stitch. Okay, my 7 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through all 7. Double crochet. I'm going to skip 1, double crochet in the next. And then I'm going to do my puff stitch around the post of this double crochet. Skip 1, double crochet in the next. Puff stitch around this double crochet. So 1, 2, 3. I'll pull through all 7 of those loops. And now I'm up to my last stitch in the row. I'm going to double crochet in this last stitch. And there is row 2 of the bead stitch. Now row 3 is going to be a row of single crochet. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn. This chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so I'm going to start this row in the very first stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook in this very first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and single crochet. So you could see right here is my next stitch, the top 2 loops of my bead stitch. Let me move my hook so you can see it. So here's my bead stitch, and here's the top 2 loops. Right here is where I'm going to insert my hook for the next stitch. And then right here is where I'm going to insert my hook for the next stitch. Right in between the beads, you could see these top 2 loops. That's my next stitch. This big space right here. And I'm going to do that all the way across my row. So I'm going to do it on top of the single crochet on top of my bead stitch, and then in the space between, the stitch in between my bead stitches. Here's my last bead stitch, and then my last stitch of the row is going to be on top of this turning chain, because this turning chain does count as a double crochet. So I'm going to do a single crochet on the top of my turning chain. And then that is the end of row 3 with 1 row of single crochet. So for this pattern, you're going to alternate doing rows 2 and 3 for whatever length that you would like for your pattern. So let's do a repeat of row 2. So I'm going to chain 3. That counts as my double crochet. I'm going to turn my work, and starting in this very next single crochet, I'm going to work my bead stitch. So I'm going to do a double crochet, and then I'm going to do that puff stitch around the post of my double crochet. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 7 of those, and there's my first bead stitch of this row. I'm going to skip 1 stitch, and I'm going to do my next bead stitch in the next stitch. I'm going to do my double crochet, and then that puff stitch around this post. And I'm going to repeat that all the way across. Skip 1 stitch, bead stitch in the next. There's my last bead stitch of the row, so I'm going to double crochet in my last stitch. Now I'm going to repeat row 3 and single crochet across. Chain 1, turn my work. I'm going to start in this very first stitch. And single crochet across my row, all the way to the top of the last bead stitch. Here's my last bead stitch. And then my last single crochet of the row is going to go in this turning chain from my previous row. Insert my hook into the top of that turning chain and work a single crochet. And there you have the bead stitch. Just continue to repeat rows 2 and 3 for this pattern. I hope you love this pattern. It's a really fun one. Creates this really fun texture. I always love puff stitches and bobbles and finding different ways to use them. So I really hope you love this stitch.